During a family gathering, my husband's sister stood up and said, "We took your name off the will. Everything belongs to us now." My husband nodded and whispered, "You should have been more obedient." Smiling, I pulled out the new legal papers I had. I married Daniel 10 years ago. It wasn't some whirlwind romance. We took our time. He was smart, charming, and came from a well-off family in Dallas, Texas. I built my own success. I owned a small but growing business and had made smart investments. I wasn't ultra-rich, but I was comfortable. Daniel's family, though? They were old money. They believed wealth should stay in the bloodline. From day one, I knew they didn't respect me. His parents, David and Carol, made snide remarks about how I lucked out marrying Daniel. His sister, Melissa, was even worse, entitled, smug, and convinced that I was a gold digger, despite the fact that I earned more than Daniel. At first, I ignored it. I loved Daniel, and he always assured me their opinions didn't matter. He said all the right things. And like an idiot, I believed him. For years, I let things slide. The passive-aggressive comments. The way Melissa and Carol spoke about me instead of to me when we were in the same room. The way Daniel never defended me, brushing it off as just how they are. I was too busy working, running my company, and making money moves to care. But looking back, I should have seen the warning signs. Because Daniel? He was always on their side. At first, it was little things. I found out Daniel had a secret joint bank account with his parents. He brushed it off, saying it was for emergencies. He insisted we live in a house his parents gifted us. That meant they technically owned it. When we had financial discussions, he'd say things like, "It's not like you need to make big decisions, babe. My family's got us covered." I should have asked more questions. But I trusted him. That trust shattered when I overheard a conversation I was never supposed to hear. About 3 months ago, I was walking upstairs in Daniel's parents' house during a family dinner when I heard my name. I stopped. It was Melissa. Her voice was smug, gloating. "Mom and Dad finally fixed the will. Sarah's out. It all goes to us now." My stomach dropped. I pressed myself against the wall, listening. Daniel's voice. Calm. Casual. Like this was no big deal. Good. She wouldn't have handled it well, anyway. Melissa laughed. Right? She actually thinks she has a say in this family. Then Daniel said something that made my blood turn to ice. She should have been more obedient. Obedient? Like I was some damn pet. I stood there, frozen, while my husband and his sister discussed how they had removed me from his parents' will, stolen what was supposed to be mine, and fully expected me to just accept it. I felt like I was going to be sick. But I didn't walk in. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I just walked away. Because at that moment, I made a decision. I wasn't just going to leave. I was going to make them pay. For the next few weeks, I played the perfect wife. I smiled. I cooked. I kissed Daniel goodnight. Meanwhile, I was burning his entire world to the ground. Step 1. I hired a lawyer. Daniel and I had a prenup. A solid one. But that wasn't enough. I needed to make sure I wasn't just walking away, I was walking away with everything I built. Step 2. I moved my money. I quietly transferred all my personal funds into a trust that only I could access. Daniel had no idea. Step 3. I found a damn good divorce attorney. Not some basic, run-of-the-mill lawyer. The best in Texas. Step 4. I had him followed. I hired a PI. I wasn't sure if Daniel was just a snake or also a cheater. Turns out, both. He was sleeping with a 24-year-old intern at his firm. How cliché. Step 5. I waited for the perfect moment. And that moment was the next family gathering. I showed up in my best dress, smiling like nothing was wrong. Melissa, Daniel, and their parents were all there, along with a few extended family members. We were halfway through dinner when Melissa stood up, clearing her throat dramatically. "We need to discuss something important," she announced, fake concern in her voice. I already knew what was coming. She pulled out a stack of papers and set them on the table. "Mom and Dad's will has been updated," she said, barely able to contain her glee. Then she turned to me. "You're out. Everything goes to us now." I took a slow sip of my wine, pretended to be shocked. Then Daniel spoke. "It's for the best, Sarah." His voice was calm, like this was just another business deal. Then, leaning closer, he whispered, "You should have been more obedient." I set down my glass. I smiled. Then I pulled out my own stack of papers. "Oh, Melissa," I said, my voice sickly sweet. "You should have done your homework." I slid the papers across the table. Melissa frowned. "What the hell is this?" Daniel grabbed them. Started reading. Then his face turned white. "Wait. What?" I leaned back. "That, dear husband, is my lawyer officially challenging the new will." I turned to his parents. "Because your lawyer? Not very good at covering up fraud." Carol gasped. Fraud? We did no such thing. I shrugged. Well, the court's going to decide that. But that's not all. Daniel kept reading. His hands started shaking. You filed for divorce. Melissa's head snapped up. Divorce? What the hell are you talking about? I laughed. Oh, sweetheart, did you really think I was just going to sit there and let you rob me? Daniel looked like he was going to throw up. I wasn't done. By the way, I said, that prenup you made me sign works in my favor. I keep everything I earned. You? You get nothing. Silence. Melissa's hands were clenched into fists. You lying little, I cut her off. This isn't even the best part. Then I dropped the final bombshell. I pulled out the PI photos. Daniel cheating. With his intern. His mother screamed. His father's face turned purple. Melissa? Speechless. And me? I just sipped my wine. Because I wasn't done destroying them. The silence after I dropped those photos was thick, like the whole room had lost oxygen. Daniel's mother, Carol, gasped so hard I thought she might faint. His father, David, slammed his fist on the table, his face turning a shade of red that did not look healthy. Daniel, what the hell is this? Daniel was still staring at the photos. Frozen. Melissa, always the cockroach trying to survive a fire, snatched them from his hands, eyes darting across the table. This is fake, she spat. You faked this. Sarah, you're desperate. I leaned back, so calm it must have made them sick. You think so? I reached into my purse and pulled out my phone. One click. Play. A voice recording filled the room. Daniel's voice. Babe, she's an idiot. The money's as good as mine. We'll be on a plane to Italy before she even knows what hit her. Then the voice of a woman who is definitely not me. Oh my God, baby, you're so smart. I turned off the recording and watched the horror settle in. Carol let out a wounded noise, like she had just realized her son was an actual monster. David looked ready to kill him. Melissa? Oh, she was rattled. Daniel finally snapped out of it. Sarah, let's talk. I laughed. Talk? Oh, Daniel, I think we're past that. Melissa slammed her fist on the table. You think you're so clever, don't you? You think you can just take everything and leave us with nothing? I tilted my head. Oh, no, Melissa. I don't think I can. I already did. Because while she was busy being dramatic, I had already taken steps to destroy everything they counted on. Daniel's credit cards? Frozen. The lawyer had set it up so the second my divorce filing was confirmed, his access to my accounts was cut. The house? In my name. He was about to be homeless. His job? Well, his company frowned upon affairs with interns. My lawyer had sent a nice little package of evidence to HR. Melissa's secure inheritance? Oh, she was in for a rude awakening. Because while they thought they were getting everything, my lawyer had already filed an injunction on the will due to fraud. Carol finally turned to Daniel, her voice shaking. Tell me this isn't real. Mom, slap. Not even a little one. A full-on, rings on the finger slap. You disgust me. Melissa, on the other hand, was too busy realizing she had just lost everything. This isn't happening. No, I gave her a sympathetic smile. What's wrong, Melissa? Weren't you just saying I wasn't part of the family? She lunged at me. Daniel had to physically hold her back. I will ruin you, she screamed, thrashing. You think this is over? I stood up. No, Melissa. I grabbed my purse. It's over for you. Then I walked out. But I wasn't done yet. Here's the thing about entitled people. They always have dirt. And I had plenty on Melissa. See, my lawyer and PI didn't just look into Daniel. They looked into all of them. And Melissa? Oh, she had a secret even bigger than Daniel's affair. I just hadn't told them yet. Because the best revenge? Is slow. I didn't drive straight home after leaving that night. No, I had one last move to make. Melissa had always walked around like she was untouchable. Like she was above the rules. But I had proof that would make sure she would never recover from this. Because while she was busy plotting to steal from me, she had been stealing from someone else. I had bank statements. I had emails. I had proof that Melissa had been embezzling money from her parents' accounts for years. The next morning, I had a little package delivered to David and Carol. It contained copies of financial statements showing tens of thousands of dollars mysteriously transferred to Melissa. Screenshots of emails where she casually instructed a banker to move some of Mom and Dad's funds into her account. Proof that she had been using their money to fund her own lifestyle, fancy vacations, expensive shopping sprees, even a failed business that she tried to launch but flopped within months. I made sure it was sent directly to their accountant, too. By noon, chaos erupted. Melissa was blowing up my phone, leaving screaming voicemails. Daniel sent pathetic texts begging me to stop. Then came the best part. David called me. Not to yell. Not to threaten. But to say thank you. Sarah, his voice was low, controlled. I don't like you. But you were right about my daughter. And trust me, she won't get away with this. Melissa was cut off. Completely. Her parents froze all her accounts. They filed fraud charges against her. And suddenly, she was the one losing everything. After that, Daniel did what every pathetic man does when he realizes he's lost everything. He begged. He showed up at my office unannounced, looking like absolute hell. His suit was wrinkled. His face was pale. For the first time, he looked like a man who had lost. Sarah, he whispered, voice cracking. Please, let's fix this. I leaned back, arms crossed. Fix what, Daniel? His jaw clenched. I made a mistake. I should have chosen you over them. I just smiled. Oh, Daniel. Then I handed him an eviction notice. Because the house he was still living in? It was mine. And he had 30 days to get out. But I wasn't done yet. I wanted one last twist. Something to make sure that every single one of them knew. You don't F***CK with me. So I waited. I let them think it was over. Then, exactly 1 month later, I sent a wedding invitation. My wedding invitation. To my new fiancé. To a man who was twice the man Daniel would ever be. And I made sure Daniel, Melissa, and his entire family got a front row seat to my happiness. 1 month after I left Daniel and Melissa in financial and social ruins, I sent out my wedding invitations. Not just to my friends. Not just to my family. I sent them to Daniel, Melissa, Carol, and David. The wedding was fake. I wasn't actually engaged. But they didn't know that. And I wanted them to believe I had moved on, happier than ever. The reaction was instantaneous. Carol tried calling me 6 times. Daniel left voicemails that started with, please, just listen, and ended with, you heartless B***TCH. And Melissa? She didn't call. She didn't text. Instead, she showed up. I was at a coffee shop when I saw her through the window. She looked rough. Her hair was a mess, her designer clothes looked worn out, and she had the wild eyes of someone who had lost everything. I barely looked up as she stormed toward my table. Cancel the wedding. I took a sip of my latte. Excuse me? Don't play dumb, Sarah. You're doing this to humiliate us. I smiled. Humiliate you? Melissa, I didn't need to do anything. You and Daniel did that all on your own. She slammed her fists on the table, causing a scene. You think you won? She spat. You think you're better than us? I set my coffee down. Melissa, I don't think I won. I know I did. Her face twisted with rage. And then she said something I didn't expect. I hope you're happy. Her voice cracked. Because you ruined everything. She actually sounded broken. And that's when I realized Melissa had never been the real villain. She was just desperate. She had never worked a day in her life. She had lived in her parents' shadow, counting on inheritance to keep her safe. And now? She had nothing. For a split second, I felt something close to pity. Then I remembered how she had tried to steal from me, manipulate me, and ruin my life. So I stood up, slung my purse over my shoulder, and said, Melissa, I didn't ruin anything. You did that all by yourself. And I walked away. 3 days later, I found Daniel waiting outside my office. I sighed, already exhausted. You have 10 seconds to walk away before I call security. But Daniel didn't look angry this time. He looked defeated. Sarah, he croaked. I need to talk to you. I rolled my eyes. Let me guess, you want me back? You're sorry? You made a mistake? He nodded. I laughed. Wow, Daniel. What a surprise. He took a step forward, his hands shaking. You don't get it. I lost everything. I don't even have a place to stay. So that was it. Daniel wasn't here because he loved me. He was here because he had nowhere else to go. That's not my problem. Sarah, please. His voice cracked. I don't even have enough for a motel. I tilted my head. What about Melissa? His jaw clenched. She won't talk to me. Melissa had finally realized he was just as useless as she was. For the first time in 10 years, Daniel looked at me with something that resembled genuine regret. I should have chosen you over them. And for the first time, I said exactly what I had wanted to say for months. You never had a choice, Daniel. You lost me the second you betrayed me. I pulled a $1 bill from my purse, pressed it into his hand, and whispered, you should have been more obedient. Then I walked away. And this time, he didn't follow me. Daniel moved in with a distant cousin. I heard through the grapevine that he works at a car dealership now. Not exactly the glamorous future he thought he'd have. Melissa tried to fight her fraud charges but lost. She was forced to pay every cent back to her parents. She now lives in a tiny apartment, working a job for the first time in her life. Carol and David? Well, they lost 2 kids in 1 year. Last I heard, they had cut contact with both Daniel and Melissa. And me? I'm thriving. I took the house, my business, and my future. And as for that wedding invitation, I never got married. I just wanted them to know that I was happy. And that was the best revenge of all.